2024 has come to a close, the Oscars have been announced, and that means it is time for me to announce my top 10 films of 2024. Now, if your favorite movie from 2024 or a movie that you liked from 2024 isn't on this list, that either means that I did not see it, means I liked it but didn't think it was top 10 material, or I absolutely hated it. Either way, be sure to let us know in the comments what your top 10 movies of 2024 are, and without further ado, I'm Josh from Just Smash. Let's figure it out. I've got one honorable mention, and that goes to Ricky Stenicki. Now, Ricky Stenicki is pretty wildly different from everything else on this list, and I don't even think it's like a phenomenal movie or anything, but it reminds me of the 2000s raunchy comedies that I grew up with, and because of that, I really enjoyed this movie. Conclave. This movie is a simple yet complex talkie drama that is shot like a mind-bending thriller. These absolute divas at the Vatican had me on the edge of my seat, and it was so fun to watch them navigate conspiracy, politics, and religion while figuring out who the next pope would be. I'm someone who really likes this type of movie, the talkie thriller type movies, but I also love election movies and political movies, especially thrillers. I think it makes for such a great backdrop for conflict and interesting dynamics between characters. The movie's super intense. Ralph Fiennes gives one of the best performances of the year, and you should absolutely go out of your way to watch this movie. The Greatest Night in Pop. The Greatest Night in Pop is a Netflix documentary following the making of the historic We Are the World song, which used all of the biggest stars of the 80s. It's crazy seeing all of the most famous musicians from the 80s all in the same room collaborating and doing what they do best with each other. The fact that the footage of this even exists is also crazy, and the fact that just now we're finally getting a super in-depth, cool documentary about how this came together. It was also really cool to see a lot of the musicians that were involved with We Are the World coming back 40 years later to talk about what happened in this documentary. It was super interesting, easy to get invested in, and if you were a fan of music or pop culture or the history of a lot of important things from our culture, you'll really enjoy this documentary. Dune 2. Now, I personally was not the biggest fan of Dune 1. I liked Dune 1, but I did not think it was this masterpiece. Dune 2, however, I think is an incredible film. Technically speaking, pretty much every element of this movie is at the top level that it possibly could be. Music's great, it looks phenomenal, the story's paced super well, the acting's awesome, especially with standout performances from Javier Bardem, Rebecca Ferguson, and Zendaya. It's kind of weird because I do wish that this movie had gotten the recognition that the first one did, at least from the Academy, because I do feel like the Letterboxd and Twitter consensus was that Dune 2 was incredible and better than the first one, but it just didn't get the awards love that I feel like it should have. Will and Harper. Will and Harper is a documentary about Will Ferrell and his friend Harper Steele who take a road trip across the country the first time after Harper's transition. It's a really heartfelt and endearing documentary that I think that everybody should watch in the current political and social climate of the United States. On top of the political and social issues, it's a great story about friendship, it's really dramatic and funny at the same time, and it is honestly one of the best documentaries I've seen that really explores the heartlands of America. On top of all that, the movie is beautifully shot. It has some of the absolute best cinematography of the year. The Substance. The Substance is somehow one of the funniest movies of the year and one of the most haunting movies of the year. It has body horror and practical effects that would make David Cronenberg proud. It also has gross-out humor and disturbing situations that would make John Waters proud. Demi Moore absolutely kills her comeback performance and really shows why she's an incredible actor and deserved her Oscar nomination. But I also feel like this was a vehicle for Margaret Qualley to shine and show how much of a superstar she is. She's had plenty of movies where she's great, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Drive Away Dolls, Kinds of Kindness. But this is the first film that I really feel like was hers and that she used it as an opportunity to showcase who she is. Anora. Everything good you've heard about Anora is absolutely true. Sean Baker crafted something chaotic and very quietly heartbreaking with this film. Mikey Madison absolutely rules this movie and gives what I would consider the performance of the year. The complexity of her character is super interesting, and the charm that she brings to that character just absolutely carries it. And there are some truly great supporting performances throughout the film as well. I Saw the TV Glow. I Saw the TV Glow is a movie that I talked about a lot in my 5 films you should watch for September 2024, so go back and watch that video if you want to hear me talk more in depth about it. Visually, this is my favorite movie of the year. I think it has incredible atmosphere, but really the reason that I connect to it is it has such a nostalgic feeling, and ultimately, to me, it is the first film that covers the late 90s to early 2010s period that actually feels like that period. Obviously, there's movies that were made in those times that feel like it, but this is the first movie after the fact that evokes the feelings of my childhood and when I was growing up. Longlegs. Longlegs had a giant reputation to live up to because the marketing was essentially, this is the scariest movie of all time. And to some people that is absolutely true, but ultimately that is a pretty unfair tag to put on a movie because so many people are going to come out of it being disappointed because it's not what they expected. It's pretty impossible to maintain that level of hype throughout, but for me, it is absolutely one of the scariest movies of all time. Nick Cage gives the performance of his career, in my opinion, with his transformation into Longlegs. The way he's shot and the way he acts is so creepy. He looks so creepy, and truly it is one of his best performances. Micah Monroe also gives an incredible performance as Lee Harker. It's such a numb yet emotional experience. She's awesome. This film, to me, had the best posters and trailers, a part of its marketing scheme, but the cinematography is incredible, and every frame of this movie just drips with evil. I've seen people say it's a lot closer to Seven than it is to an actual horror film. I personally think it walks the line in both directions and does so pretty well. Civil War. Civil War, to me, was a film that was extremely underrated and underrepresented in the awards discussions, partially because it came out in the first half of the year. I think because the film doesn't overtly pick sides or point fingers at a certain political party, a lot of people don't really like it because they feel like it's apolitical. I don't really think that's the case. I think if you watch the film and pay attention, they are definitely picking a side. But ultimately, the film is not so much about an us versus them type situation. It is a close, small, contained, intimate story about war journalists in a war-torn country. I like the way that they analyze the ethics of war journalism and how it can change somebody, how it alters their perspective on the horror surrounding them. I like that the film didn't really pull any punches, and I like that it was tense and a thriller throughout. Kirsten Dunst is one of my all-time favorite actors, period. I think she is phenomenal in everything she's in. Kaylee Spaney is someone who I think is a really special talent that is really showing what she can be in this world of acting. And even though he's not in it much, Jesse Plemons gives maybe the supporting performance of the year. Challengers. Challengers is my film of 2024. I truly do think that this is the best film of the year. Every movie on this top 10 list is great, but really Challengers is the one that stands out head and shoulders above all else. It is an absolute crime to me, not only that this movie didn't get nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars, but that it got completely shut out. It has been said time and time again how truly incredible the score of this movie is. It even won the Golden Globe, but I even feel like it's underrepresented in how good it is because the score is that incredible. The cinematography is so creative and inventive. Every shot throughout the movie is so interesting. The way that they present the conflict is so interesting. All three of the main characters feel engaged and lived in, and their conflict feels truly human. Josh O'Connor, Mike Faist, and Zendaya give all-timer performances. I think they are one of the greatest trios in movie history. The ending is phenomenal, maybe one of the best scripts ever written. The callbacks are so good. Everything about this movie is just incredible. On top of that, one of the most fun movies to see in a movie theater. I feel like they should release this movie once a year, every year, so people get the chance. All right, well, that's my top 10 movies of 2024. I don't feel like it was necessarily a great year for movies, but it was a good year for movies. I think the top 10 really are great movies, and there was a lot of fun kind of thrown about in the middle there. But hopefully 2025 is a bit better, maybe on par with 2023, which I feel like was a really great year for movies. Regardless, if you think my taste sucks, that's totally cool. Just be sure to let me know in the comments below. We would really appreciate any subscribing, liking, commenting. That really helps out the channel a lot. Without further ado, I'm Josh from Just Mash. Until next time.